A video with it. We live! Hey y'all! Okay, let me drop this little comment thing. I'm gonna put blogging and social media because that's what we're talking about today, guys. Welcome, welcome. Okay, let me pin this little comment thing. It's always the hardest part of my day. Not really, but sort of. Welcome to the live, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, I guess. Up happy and healthy. Today we're going to talk a little bit about blogging, social media. You guys sent a bunch of questions and I'm going to answer the questions that you guys have today. And while I'm talking, feel free to drop more questions down below because I want to make sure that if you're on and watching, I get your questions answered because you guys are my priority right now. So if you see the question box below and you've got some questions that you want me to stop and answer while I'm talking, go ahead and drop those. So I'm going to start with talking about blogging, and then we're going to go into social media a little bit as well, closer to the end. But first I want to talk about blogging since that's really what this is about. Hi from New Jersey. Hey guys. Oh, there's somebody on here from Thailand. That's cool. Awesome. Okay. So first, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my blog. I started my blog called White Collar Glam. It's for women's professional clothing. I started it in 2018, so it's been a while. A lot of articles on there and a lot of fun stuff. But I've learned a lot since I first started it, and hope to pass along the information that I have. A little bit of background. When I was starting my blog, one of the first things I had to do was find a name, find like a real purpose or a niche for my blog, and I had to buy the domain for my blog. And I think buying that domain helped me out later on because I ended up buying the domain for my own name as well. And it's a little secret, but not really because this is on Instagram Live, but it's something that I don't share very often. But this is a piece of advice that I gave to our USA 2020 girls based on one of my own experiences. This has little to do with blogging, but it's very important with regard to domain names. When I bought the White Collar Glam domain, I also bought CheslieCryst.com. So every year I pay, I think it's like $12 a year to keep the CheslieCryst.com domain name. So nobody else can buy that from me. They could buy it from me, but nobody else can buy it because I've got it and it auto renews every year. But that was important because when I won the title of Miss USA, there were a bunch of people who took my name, my username, on various social media platforms, but they couldn't take my domain name because I'd already bought it like a year or two or whatever before. So what I say when I mean people took my name, I mean I didn't have a Twitter before an active Twitter before I won the title of Miss USA, but like 3 days after I won, I was talking to our head of digital at the time, Bridget, and she was like, you should probably get on Twitter. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay. So I go on twitter.com and I type in like Cheslie Kryst, and somebody had the Cheslie Kryst username. I was so mad. And they were tweeting like they were me. They were like, hey, so cool to win Miss USA. I was like, you're not me. This is so weird. The same happened for Facebook. Somebody made a business Facebook page, and the username that they used and the URL that they used was like at Cheslie Kryst, and the URL was facebook.com/Cheslie Kryst. And it wasn't until like a couple of weeks ago that I got that back. So now I manage that account. But before then, it was somebody who like literally took my username. So I sent this piece of advice to the girls who are competing this year, like go ahead and get your social media handles on, or your username on like, Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, because people will take your stuff and they'll do the same for your domain name. So buy your domain. If you're thinking about blogging, just go ahead and, my advice is like go ahead and buy it. When I was thinking about the White Collar Glam name for my blog, there were a couple of names that I was thinking about. I thought about like White Collar Curls. I thought about like curlygirls.com. I thought about like C-Suite, and I literally just bought all of them because it was $12 for most of them. And there are other domains that are more popular that are more expensive. Like if I was going to buy like curlygirls.com or something like that, that probably would have been really, really expensive as compared to something that wasn't used a lot, like White Collar Glam. But if you're thinking about a blog and you're thinking about some names, I would just go ahead and sort of buy those domains so that nobody else takes them. And at least you've got them, and they can expire and you won't have to pay for them the next year or whatever. But yeah, Alexis says that's so crazy. It was so crazy, and it was, I think, creepy for me to see people sort of like impersonating me and literally acting like they were me. One of the pages would take my social media posts off of my Instagram and literally like copy and paste them and put them on my page. And then they would like act like they were talking like me, or they would post other things. They would post their friends and say, hey guys, you should support this page. And I was like, no, this is not, it's very, very creepy. So Ryan says, where did I buy my domain name? I bought my domain name from Google Domains. So if you type in like Google Domains, you'll come to their website, and that's where I bought one of my accounts from. My White Collar Glam blog used to be hosted through bluehost.com, and so one of my domains, it's like I have chesliekrist.com and White Collar Glam, and one of them is with Bluehost, one of them is with Google, but that's really where I like the sort of channels that I bought them through. You can also buy some domains on like GoDaddy.com, and there are some other places, but I just liked Google. It made things more seamless for me, and you can also use like Google Search Console. There are a ton of things that you can use. Google Analytics is another big one. So I just I'm on Google all the time anyways. Let me just buy it from Google. So that was really, really hard. Ansley Hernandez, hey girl, she says, was it hard at first to start your blog up? I have tried before to make a blog. Yes, it was incredibly difficult. And I'm blanking on the name. I think it's like something bloggers. There's a Facebook page that I used, and message me, Ansley, if you want me to send you the name of the Facebook page. But there's a Facebook page that has like, I don't know, like maybe 12 or 15, maybe 90,000, a lot of bloggers on it, female bloggers. And it was sort of a support group for me. And so I liked this Facebook page. People would talk all the time about things they were doing. They would support each other. They would ask questions. And so following that Facebook page helped me because I felt like I was part of a bigger community. And so if you're starting a blog and you need support or help, the first thing I would say is like try to become a part of a blogger community, because you guys are going to have a lot of the same questions, and it helped me to sort of stay motivated because I knew that other people were struggling with the same things that I was struggling with. Okay, so I started talking about my blog and then I stopped. So, my blog is whitecollarglam.com. Follow me, like my page, get my clicks up. I'm looking on it now so I can show you guys what the page looks like. So this is my website. I closed the shade today so you guys could actually see a little better. This is it. This is White Collar Glam. Starts off with this. I really love my website. It's got a bunch of scrolly stuff up here and a menu up here. And then when you scroll down, a bunch of stuff happens, all this. So I really like how the page is now, but the important part of my blog and the important part of like creating a blog is when you're making your blog, you need to make sure that it's mobile optimized, because it's one of the things that Google ranks or Google uses when it's ranking things in your search. So what I mean by that is when you're searching for something, if I was searching for gold dragon earrings today, because I'm wearing gold dragon earrings, if I typed into Google gold dragon earrings, there are search results that are going to pop up, 10 to a page, 10 on the first page, 10 on the second page, whatever. And if you want to be successful as a blogger and you're talking about gold jewelry or something on your blog, you want to be like number one in the search results, because you're going to get more clicks. And whether or not your blog is mobile optimized is one of the things that Google takes into account when it is ranking website search results. So that's really important. When I was starting my blog, I started off hosted on Bluehost. I designed it through WordPress, and I bought a theme off of the Mojo Marketplace on Bluehost. And this might all sound like I'm talking in cursive, and that's literally what it sounded like when people would tell me the same thing. But it gets really complicated, but if you just start, if you just like log into Bluehost and you start finding things out, if you start Googling, you'll be able to get through it. So that's where I started, but eventually when I won Miss USA, I knew that there were going to be more clicks. In fact, like my viewer base went up significantly the night of the pageant because I was talking about White Collar Glam and people were searching. And so I knew I wanted to have a really professional website, and so I ended up hiring a web developer. And that's why my website looks like it does today. That's where I learned some additional information that's helped me to get higher in rankings, and all of that was really, really important. Okay, whoa, there's a bunch of questions that I've missed. And it looks like some people are typing questions in the bottom too, so I'm going to answer those in a second. But it looks like Bailey says, what are some blogs that you like to follow and why? So when I started my blog, I started it because I wanted a place where women could talk about and see examples of workwear fashion, because there are tons of casual wear blogs but there are very few blogs that talk about fashion in the workplace. And you spend 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, maybe more than that. I know I spent more than 40 hours a week at work in these clothes. I'm like, why can't I be stylish and fashionable? Like, I want to still look good when I'm at work. So that was my interest, so I ended up following similar blogs. So some of my favorites are Memorandum by Mary Orton. If you look up Mary, her name's Mary Orton on Instagram. It's Mary, I think it's Orten or On, one of those two. She's one of my favorites. 9 to 5 Chic, I think, is another one. Atlantic Pacific, one of my favorites. The girl who runs it, her name is Blair, and her fashion is just top notch. And the cool thing about her is she like talks about casual wear and work wear at the same time. So that's really, really fun. All right, I'm gonna look at some of these questions in the question box. Let me see. Okay, you guys are asking a lot of questions about when Miss USA is gonna happen, and we're going to announce the date eventually. What is the most important? Okay. Whoa, there's a ton of questions on here. And let me see this one. All right. Bailey Cormick says, how do you buy a domain name? Is there a site you go to? Okay, so I'll show you guys where I bought mine. Okay, so if you type in like, actually, I think this is already here, like Google Domains. Okay, so this is where I bought my domain, and I would log in, but then you guys are going to see my password, my login, or whatever. But this is Google Domains. This is where I bought my domain name. So you can search for a domain here. Like, for example, if I type in like White Collar Glam is my website. I didn't try this beforehand, so hopefully, okay. So here it's going to tell you that whitecollarglam.com, you'll see right here. If you type in whitecollarglam.com, that's a possible domain name, but it's taken right now because I own it, so you can't buy it. But if you wanted to buy whitecollarglam.org, these are the prices for it. If you wanted to do, I think White Collar Curls was one I used to want. Okay, so if you're like, I want a website that has this in it. Okay, so White Collar Curls, you could do whitecollarcurls.com. That's $12 a year. So this is where I started searching for my domains, and that was really, really helpful. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you want like another business blog or something, like if you typed in like business clothes, and that's what you wanted your website to be, which I wouldn't recommend. Look, there's a domain, business clothes, $12 a year. But something that would be more popular would probably be just like business.com. Okay, so that's taken. And even if you do business.accountants, like you use, instead of a .com, you use a .accountants, even that is $880 a year. So more popular domains are gonna end up being like more expensive than others. So that's why I liked White Collar Glam, because one, it was available, and it was $12 a year. But two, because there are 3 words in my domain name, it was less likely that it was going to be taken, which was super helpful. So that's where I bought mine. Thank you. Bailey Gorm says, what are some of the plans you have for your blog moving forward? Hopefully to increase my viewer base, because one of my goals for my year was to have 50,000 viewers per month on my blog. And I'm not there yet. So that's really high on my list of priorities for my blog. And one of the things that's helped is Google Search Console. So if you have a blog, if you're thinking about getting a blog, you have to have you have to use Google Search Console and Google Analytics. And I'll show you Google Search Console and one of the really important things that I like to use on it. Okay, so I've already got it open here. This is Google Search Console. Here are my total clicks, total impressions, average click-through rate, and my average position. This is so important. So when people search for things that eventually lead them to my blog, usually I'm on the 3rd page. This is terrible. But if I scroll down here, these are the different queries that people type in that will lead you to my blog, and these are the rankings. So for example, if you type in pageant interview dress, I'm on the 1st page. I'm like between 5th or 6th on there, which is really, really great. That means that people who are typing this in are going to see my page. They're going to go to my blog because I rank really high on here. If you type in White Collar Glam on Google right now, I'm going to be the 1st position because that's the name of my blog. So stuff like this is really important to have. It just helps you to know how people are getting to your page, how popular you can be, and how to continue to like grow your presence. Now, one of the things I told you guys I was going to talk about a little bit was editing photos. So, and continue. Oh, wow, there's more. Sorry, I just saw that there are a bunch more questions on here. Somebody says, can you bring your crown out? No, we're talking about blogging right now. One of the things that I use for editing my photos is Photoshop. I use Photoshop like crazy, especially when it comes to my blog. I almost never use Photoshop when it comes to like my social media. Instead, like there were a bunch of people that were asking like what photo editing apps I use and what presets I use. I actually edit my photos directly in the Instagram app. So for example, if I went to Instagram right now and was going to edit this random photo that I took before I logged on today. Oh, it's not loading. Let me pick a different photo. Okay, well, I just posted this photo the other day. But if I was going to edit this photo, I'm literally going to open it up on Instagram. I'm going to click on Edit, and I'm going to use all of these things at the bottom to edit. I don't like using presets because, I don't know, I just think every photo is different. The lighting's always different, and you can just edit so much better using the regular Instagram app. Like I'll change like the brightness a lot. I end up changing the contrast, saturate, all of that. And I end up, somebody says use Lightroom for photos. I use Lightroom for like sorting photos, but then I edit, like sorting my blog photos, but then I edit mostly on Photoshop. So if you're thinking about blogging and using Photoshop, oh my gosh, it's amazing. So you buy it online. I used to have a program where you just downloaded it on your computer and it was just there all the time. But now Photoshop, the one that I have, it charges me $10 every month to continue using Photoshop. So it's like, I mean, it's only $10 a month, but it's still $10 every month. But I mean, it's a great program. So this, for example, is one of the photos that I've edited on Photoshop. This one is just for my social media. It's not for my blog, but I thought it was a good example of like how I edit my photos. So this is the edited version. Sorry, there's like a lot of glare on here. I'm trying to get the glare away. Okay, I guess that's a little better for the glare. So like I said, this is the finished photo and this is the original. So there's not like a huge change. I haven't done a ton besides change the coloring and everything. But there's this skin smooth option on Photoshop that I love. So you can kind of see here, this is before and this is after. So if this was like a beauty shot and I was like all the way zoomed in, like I guess zoomed in this much, the skin smooth is like dope. It smooths your skin in a way that it still allows you to see your pores, which I'm sort of obsessed with. So you can do a ton with Photoshop, and here's another example of a photo I've edited on Photoshop. This one actually is for my blog. So this is the finished photo, and this is the original. So you can see in the original I took off this line because I thought it was distracting. It rained that day, so you could see like I don't know if it rained that day, but there was water that was coming down from the top of this concrete wall that I hated. So I took that, and then you can kind of see on the ground how there's a bunch of like dirt and rocks on the ground that I thought was just distracting. So instead of leaving them there, I took them out because I didn't want that there. And you can do a ton of that really easily and quickly on Photoshop. And maybe I'll do a long tutorial one day. But this is just an example of the kind of stuff that you can do on this program because it's incredible. I really like to add sort of a vignette around a lot of my photos, but that's just my style. Bailey Cormick on here says Adobe software has a student discount, which is great and was great when I was a student, but I'm old now, and so I have to pay full price like the rest of the adults. Official Primroses says, hi, Miss USA. Hey. How do you find motivation, or rather inspiration, to continue posting content on your blogs? Do you ever run out of ideas? Yes. Or just lose motivation at some point? Yes, absolutely. And I think the secret to successful bloggers is just being consistent and having a bank of content, which is something that I'm not always good with doing. Like, for example, I started White Collar Glam in 2018. I had a different blog with a friend of mine called Workaholics, which started in like late 2017. But since I started, I intended to do weekly articles. However, when I was preparing for Miss North Carolina USA, when I was preparing for Miss USA, when I was preparing for Miss Universe, these are all times when my blog saw no articles and I didn't post any content. I was barely posting on my Instagram, and it is really easy to just lose motivation, especially when you've got so much going on. Like, my reasoning was was that, I only go to Miss USA once. I only go to Miss Universe once, and I'm just not going to be distracted right now. This is going to be on the back burner. So yes, it is easy to lose motivation, but I think what keeps me most motivated is just setting goals and setting out specific tactics that are going to help me to achieve those goals. Because I think, if I was just like, I just want to grow my blog, but well, grow it to what? Grow your social media, grow your Facebook page on it, have more viewers. I think if you set a specific goal and you say, I want 50,000 monthly viewers, okay? That means that if I want 50,000 monthly viewers by the end of this year, if I can get to 25,000 monthly viewers by June, I'm on track. So just setting those goals, and then just setting the little steps, little easy bite-sized steps that you need to take every day to get there. I think that is what keeps me motivated for sure. And when it comes to not having, a great amount of content, I think what's helped me the most is going on like Google Search Console or Google Analytics and seeing what people search for and how that leads to my site and what I can do to sort of gain those viewers and keep them on my site. Like, for example, I'm back here on Google Search Console again. Right here, you can kind of see right here at the bottom, it says are red heels appropriate for work? If you type this into Google, my site will pop up usually third. So 1, 2, 3 in the search results. Usually my site will pop up around third. That means that I should probably have an article that addresses if red heels are appropriate for work. Right now I have an article, I think this is why I'm ranking, I have an article that talks about the do's and don'ts of heels at work. I have an article that is like the 10 things or 10 items you should never wear to work. And so each of those articles touch on heels at some point in time, heel height, heel style, what's appropriate, what's not, should you wear pantyhose, if there's a platform under your shoe, is that okay? And so if I went on here and saw on Google Search Console that people are really looking for red heels, I would know that I can write an article about red heels. And so I think that's one of the things that really helps me when it comes to like thinking about what kind of content I need, and figuring out what more articles like possible users or viewers of my site would want. Now, if you don't use Google Search Console, or if you don't have a blog yet and you can't use Google Search Console, even just typing into Google different searches is really, really helpful. So sometimes I'll do this, like, okay, so I'm on Google right now. If I'm like thinking about, I don't know, writing an article about pants at work, like let's say black pants. Okay, so there are things that are coming up right now. There are suggestions, and that's because people have typed in this search before and they're coming up with these results, and sometimes people are clicking on them, or sometimes people are just clicking or typing in black pants work shoes. So that means, wow, if I'm thinking about black pants and I kind of want to write an article about black pants, maybe I should type in, or maybe I should figure out like what kind of work shoes people should be wearing with black pants. Or look, people are thinking about black pants work outfit ideas. Maybe I should shoot some pictures that show people different options for wearing black pants at work. So that can be even really helpful too if you don't have a blog yet and you can't use Google Search Console, and you're just thinking about ideas. I think just looking in the search results at Google, even if I like pressed enter on that search, at the very bottom, I mean, you guys know all this, at the very bottom of this page, Google's going to say, these are the searches related to black pants at work. These are the other things that black pants work for restaurants. So, I mean, so this is great to just help you come up with some ideas if you have like a general niche for your blog, and you're still trying to figure out what people want to hear from you. So that's mainly what my blog is about, guys. One more thing, I talked about being mobile optimized and making sure that your site is viewable on phones. One of the things Google will show you on Google Analytics is how people are viewing your site, like whether they're viewing it on a tablet, on a computer, or on a phone. And that is really helpful because it'll actually show you, look, there are this many people who are looking at your site on a phone. You should probably make sure that your site looks good on a phone. But Google will show you, you can test whether or not your web page is actually mobile friendly by using, I think this is, let me see what this site actually is. Okay, so right here it says search.google.com/test/mobile-friendly. So if you go on this site and type in your web address right here, you can test whether or not your site is mobile friendly. This would be so embarrassing if mine wasn't, because like I paid some people to make sure that my site was mobile friendly, so I'm hoping that it is. But while that's loading, so stuff like making sure that the screen goes from having this large screen to a smaller one, and you can still access basic things like your search box or your menu. People can still search through all of your articles easily when they're going from their laptops to their phone, making sure that things load really quickly. All of these are really, really important, and we're still waiting on this, which is kind of annoying. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Hopefully I'm mobile optimized. I think that I am. So stuff like that is really, really important. Jeremy says, hi, I noticed you. Hi, somebody from the Philippines. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions on here that I missed. Okay, somebody says, how long does it take to, oh yes, this loaded. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys. Look, I'm mobile friendly, yay! Because when you look on my site on a phone, this is what happens. Everything shrinks down from what it looked like on here. So huge page, you see this giant toolbar up here, and it ended up going down to this, which is really, really great. So yay for me, I'm mobile optimized. Okay, somebody asked how long it takes for me to edit, I don't know if that said photos or articles. How long does it take? Oh, okay, so somebody says, how long does it take to edit a blog post / photo? It really depends. So for my site, when you go on my site, if you look at an article, I almost always have like a giant set of photos. So I'm never really editing just one, which is incredibly time consuming. It takes me so long. So for example, this is my latest advice. So if I go back to, let's say, my look of the week. So this is one of my look of the week articles. This is what pops up. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's a photo set. Because I liked for people to be able to see, like, this is the full outfit. This is like one of the accessories I have with my purse. These are the shoes. This is what, like, there's the purse a little closer, and my nails. So I just liked for people to see all of that. And so if I edited something, let me go on here. This is my one of the folders that I use for a lot of my photos. So the last photo, one of the photos we looked at, is in this photo set. So I have to edit all of these photos on Photoshop. That, depending on the background, might take me an hour and a half for a whole photo set, or it might take me 3 or 4 hours. On some photos, there's like a lot in the background that I have to eliminate, or the coloring is terrible, and so I have to fix that on all of the photos. You can save some of the presets and stuff that I have on Photoshop, but it's very, very time consuming. And then for my articles, when I'm writing articles, you can use a program in WordPress that will help you with your SEO. It'll actually tell you, sorry, I'm like logging into my website while I'm talking to you guys, but it'll actually tell you whether or not your article is SEO friendly. Because, for example, if I'm writing an article about red heels in the workplace, we talked about that earlier, I want to make sure that I have that exact quote, red heels in the workplace, in my article several times, because that's how Google is going to be able to find that article. And so there's a program in here that's going to, in WordPress, that will tell you whether or not your article actually is mobile optimized. And so making sure that you meet the mobile optimization scale can take a really long time. So, okay, this is a recent article that I did. This article is called, Are Slingbacks Appropriate for Work? This is how I edit my photos. This is WordPress on the back end. So there are two things that are tested on here. One, readability, and this is saying that my readability on here is good. And two, SEO, and it's saying that my SEO is good. So if I scroll down here, this is the actual article. These are the photos that are inside the article. Still photos inside the article, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if I go down here, these are the photos at the end of the article. And right here, this is a plugin called Yoast SEO. You can see it right here. And so I picked a focus key phrase. That means like there's a key phrase that I use that when people type this into Google, this article is what I want them to find. So that focus key phrase is slingbacks slingbacks appropriate for work. So what Yoast SEO, this plugin is going to do is it's going to read my article that's up here, and it's going to say Google is going to rank this well for your focus key phrase, or it's not. So right now it's saying that it's green, it's good, this is a good article, and it's going to rank things well. And what it does is it goes through a bunch of checklist things, and it's going to tell me whether or not these things are good. So it says key phrase length, key phrase density. So this key phrase density means like this term, slingbacks appropriate for work, is in here enough times. So it's saying that, here we go, the focus key phrase was found 2 times. This is a short article, so I'm good there. It'll look into the short little result. This is what's going to pop up on Google when people type in, are looking for everything. And it's going to allow me to type in a snippet here, right here. It's going to ask me whether or not the focus key phrase is in that snippet. So there's a ton of stuff that it does on here that's incredibly helpful. And so I love using the Yoast SEO plugin. It also tests for readability. So it's going to ask, are there enough transition words? This is like sort of an orange color, so no, I probably need to add more, but it's still readable. It's going to ask, have you used passive voice too often? Like, no, right now I'm using active voice mostly. So stuff like that. There are great tools on here that you can use, which is why I use WordPress for a lot of my stuff. All right, so somebody said, what exactly is SEO? So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and what that means is, this is something I explained like a little bit at the beginning of this talk, but when you create a website or a blog, Google is one of the search engines that people use the most. I think it's responsible for like 94% of organic search results. So when people type in words and are looking for stuff, you want your page or your blog or website to be in the highest level of results. So you want it to pop up number 1, number 2, at least on the first page of results. Usually Google has like 10 results on the first page, 10 results on the second, so on and so forth. So search engine optimization refers to how well people are able to find or be directed to your website when they're searching for something organically through a search domain or a search engine like google.com. So you really want your SEO is incredibly important because like when I first started my blog, I didn't think about SEO very often. Instead, I was constantly directing people to my blog through social media. So I would direct people to my blog through Pinterest, through Instagram, through Facebook, but you don't want to rely solely on directing people to your blog through social media, because then people's being directed to your blog becomes cyclical. So rather than people just constantly looking at your blog, they're only looking at your blog when you're sending them there. So if you don't post on social media, they're not looking at your blog. However, on the other hand, if you're popping up in organic search results like Google all the time, then you have constant traffic being directed to your blog and to your website, which is really what you want. You still have to use social media because it helps people to gain, brand awareness and brand recognition of your blog or your website or whatever, but you want to be SEO ready because you want that constant traffic being directed to your blog or to your website. Now I use all like a ton of the social media outlets. I use Pinterest primarily for my blog. Right now on Pinterest, I think I have 12,000 followers. I have just over 400,000 monthly viewers. So a lot of my stuff is on Pinterest, and I think blogs are best when they're marketed through Pinterest. That's just the way that Pinterest is set up. But I also use Instagram and just started actually posting on my blog's Facebook page. But a good idea when you're starting a blog is really focusing on just one of the social media outlets. Like, it's good to reserve your name on all of them, but I think, in my opinion, each of the social media platforms speak in a different language, and it's really good to be efficient on one of them before you start diving into all of them. And I say that, I mean different languages, and like when you're on Pinterest, you would not post a regular Instagram picture on Pinterest. That would be terrible because Instagram usually has you post square images, square or just over square. Whereas on Pinterest, the posts that get the most engagement are giant vertical photos. So rather than having like a regular square post on Pinterest, you really want like a really long picture on Pinterest. And there are tons of articles and studies that also show that you want words on your Pinterest photo. Those actually drive the most traffic as like a click through to your website than photos that don't. What I mean by words is, I can show you one of my Pinterest posts. So like on my White Collar Glam Pinterest page, so here are all my boards. You can see everything on here. I have a White Collar Glam articles board, and then I have just a White Collar Glam regular board. So on my regular board, this whole thing is just pictures. There are no words on any of these pictures. All this is like pictures, and then there are descriptions underneath the pictures. On the other hand, I also have in my White Collar Glam articles board infographics. And this says exactly what you're going to read. This is a look of the week. I don't know if this is probably backwards for you guys. But this says look of the week, gray suit, and sock boots, because that's what the article is about. So having words on your photo, that is what is going to direct people from the photo or post on Pinterest to your website. And so knowing that, and like you wouldn't often do that on Instagram, because Instagram speaks a different language. Instagram is all about high resolution, beautiful photos and captions that are inspirational or hook people in or tell a story. But you don't really think about your captions that much on Pinterest. Instead, on Pinterest, I'm just writing words in the caption. Like, for example, if I go back to, let me see, if I go back to my White Collar Glam board, and okay, so this is one of the pins that I'll show you guys. This is just a picture that's from my blog. It sits on my, okay, if I click edit pin, you can see like I have a caption right here, which is just the name of the article. Sorry, my nails are terrible. But right here is a giant description. And that description is not like a regular caption. It's literally like suit for work. It's White Collar Glam, comma, New York City style, comma. I mean, you can't see the whole thing. You can only see 3 lines, but this thing is giant. So each of the social media platforms, they speak in different languages. If you're starting a blog, I would pick like one of them to focus on. And like you want to grow that presence first. And after you grow that presence, you can move on from there to the other ones that speak different languages. RVNG_RC says she's giving out free sauce. Yeah, as much, whatever information you guys need, I'm here for it. Because it is a struggle. It's like, I mean, starting my blog and trying to drive traffic to it was very, very difficult. And I get it if you're starting a blog and you're really interested in all of this, and I want to help. Okay, so let me answer this one. Hey, girl. Oh, somebody says I love you. Love my blog. Thank you. Thanks, Official Primroses. Okay, so Misha asks, what is the best weather for a shoot day? Cloudy weather is the best. Oh my God. I love it. So I hate shooting on sunny days. It's really hot in the first place. But second, if you go outside and you're shooting a bunch of photos and the sun is shining and it's super bright outside, you get such harsh shadows on your face. I mean, I wish I could had a photo on hand that I would just show you guys. But I mean, I get really harsh shadows like under my eyes, right here when I smile, and it's like literally like this. Like this is what I end up looking like. You can see like bumps on my face really easily. Like I do not look good. This is overhead lighting. This is what sunshiny days creates. Whereas like a cloudy day, I end up looking more like this. Like lighting is everything, guys. So I love shooting on cloudy days, not rainy days, but cloudy days. And if I have already scheduled a shoot and it's going to be a sunshiny day, what I end up doing is shooting at the crack of dawn. My brother is a photographer and he shoots basically all of my photos. And we have plenty of shoots that are at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, because I know at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun is just starting to rise. It's not going to be all the way at its highest point. And so I'm still going to look good and I won't have a ton of editing to do. But if our shoots run long and, 8 o'clock turns into noon or 1 p.m., we will literally stop shooting and just take the afternoon off because overhead lighting is just terrible. So cloudy days, Misha says you always look good. Thank you. You're very kind. Mandy says 99 says, how do you fit all of this into your schedule? Girl, that is not easy. That's why having a blog can be so difficult, because it's not easy, which is why if you look on my blog, the last article that I posted was in March. But, you just have to be forgiving and just understand that you're not going to get everything done all at once, and it happens. But on the other hand, planning content well in advance is also really, really helpful. So writing articles in advance, having like an article bank that you can just refer to, having like editing photos. I end up like batch editing photos, so I'll edit photos from like 7 different shoots all in one day, so that I know when I write an article and I'm going to use these photos, the photos are already edited and I won't have to stress about them. So for example, this is one of the schedules that I made a long time ago. I have a blog posting schedule that I use, and I took out everything for August, but you can kind of see, like, I was planning on posting mostly on Sundays, so I would post right here. I'm not doing a new article here, I'm not doing one here. Then I skipped down to October, and I actually posted, like, I want to post an article of this name, and this is the photo that you're going to use, Cheslie. So I think planning everything well in advance helps you to fit things into a busy schedule, because rather than having to constantly create new content every, day of the week, you're just like, I'm going to create 7 articles and do 7 photo shoots all at once. And then, as you go, you can automate the posting using WordPress. You can automate posting on Instagram using a number of different apps. So just doing that on the front end helps to manage things when your schedule is unreliable. Annalie Official says, do you do your own shoots on a tripod, and what are your best practices? So for my blog, I use my brother, who's a photographer. He shoots all of my photos, and he's incredible. I was looking at some of our old photos. We've both improved a lot. But he shoots all of my photos, and he edits as well, but I prefer to edit my own photos. Let me exit out of this, since I'm not answering the question anymore. But I prefer to edit all of my own photos because I'm really, really picky when it comes to like my photographs. So he does everything for me. For my own social media though, I just use pictures that people have like made for me, or I'll shoot on like my own phone. But I do have a bunch of a lot of tools here that we can use. For example, you guys are sitting on a little tripod right now. This is a little tripod where you guys are sitting. And I have this little makeup mirror that I use and I actually travel with. And so if I'm taking selfies or something, I'm in front of this window and I've got like my little light right here, which helps a ton. All right, let me scroll down here. Okay, let me look on here. If you guys have any more questions, send them in the chat real quick and I'll answer like a couple more before I'm done. Okay, so Misha says, what does having a high amount of monthly viewers do? So on Pinterest, I talked about this when I was referring to my Pinterest page. Or do you mean like generally? So I guess I'll talk about for both. On Pinterest, having a high amount of like monthly viewers just means that when people type in queries on Pinterest, they're scrolling past your photo. And that's good, because if somebody is typing in, I don't know, like cute red power suit, like I want to be on the search results, and so having more eyes even scrolling past my picture just is going to convert into clicks on my actual website. Now on the other hand, having a high amount of monthly viewers on my website just means that I have eyes on my page. If I put ads like Google ads or something on my blog, that means that I'm going to make money from it, from people being on there. Or when I work with affiliate partners, they're going to get more traffic for their respective websites and products. So you want that, because it makes your blog more monetizable. It helps you to be a more valuable partner to other brands, and it's just helpful in general. So you really want a high amount of monthly viewers, because that's sort of a measure of success for me. Curly World Adventure says, Mish, your questions are epic. Yes, they are. Indeed. Okay. All right. One more question. You guys are really concerned about my crown. It's here. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Got this question here. Hannah says she's starting her quarantine blog right now. Dope. Do it. Okay, so Official Primroses says, how do you keep your audience engaged with posts on your blogs and social media? And how do you know what is hot and not, I guess, maybe, is the end of that question. So two ways, really. Yeah, two primary ways. One, I showed you guys my Google Search Analytics and my Google Search Console, both of which I use a ton. And I showed you my WordPress, which demonstrates, whether or not a blog post is readable or whether it's optimized for SEO or whatever. So I use all of those. And to keep people engaged, I have to make sure that people are actually reaching the specific posts that they're looking for. So there was an old post that I did a while ago that talked about, it was like the 10 staples you have to buy. And when I wrote this article, I was writing it in like November. So I think when I was typing it, I was like the 10 staple items that you need for Christmas this year. And which was great because it was about to be the holiday season. People needed to buy stuff. But then Christmas came and went. So that means that people are no longer looking for staples to buy during Christmas or for Christmas, which means I need to change my article because I still want people to be able to reach this article even though it ain't Christmas. So I had to edit that article and make sure I took out references to Christmas because I didn't want it to be just seasonal. I wanted it to be a post that people would reach in March, in June, and they aren't looking for Christmas gifts in March or June. So I would edit that post and make sure that it was still relevant, that people still were interested in the content, and then I still agreed with the post because, some of my posts are like 2 years old, and I have to go through and re-edit them. And another problem that I've run into that I have not solved yet, so if you have suggestions, drop them in the box because I'm really interested in figuring out how to fix this. But I have a ton of, like I said, I started this blog in 2018, so some of my articles are old, and I almost always link sample items that I'm talking about. If I'm talking about slingback shoes, for example, I link slingback heels and where you can buy them in the article. However, here I sit 2 years later, and if you look back at that 2-year-old article, that link that I just took you to where you could buy those slingbacks, it's dead now. Those slingbacks are sold out. They're 2 years old. They're not even cute anymore. And so I'm constantly having to update my blog and either say this item is sold out or here's a similar one or find a new product and re-update it. But when you have 80 articles like I do, that's really hard to do. To go through, if I have 10 links per article, that's 800 links that I have to look through every single one and figure out, what's a new product. So I haven't been able to update that yet or figure out a good process. Mostly people just end up clicking on links and it says sold out, but it's still a click through to the website of the seller, which is still nice for them. So if you have a solution or a suggestion for that, guys, hey, let me know, because I get messages every now and then where people are like, I went to the pants that you suggested, but they're sold out. And I'm like, yeah, it's from 2018. But I just haven't figured out a more efficient way to do that yet. Okay, so let me scroll on here. I got a couple more questions. Is it good to have a separate blog or IG page for your interests, or do you think it's better to combine your personal and passion/interest on your page? I think that there's a lot of gray area there. Thanks for that question. I don't know how to say your name. Gamery? Hope I got that right. That's a great question. And it was one of the things I thought about. I liked keeping them separate because when I was thinking about my blog, creating my blog page, I was also competing in pageants. And those two, even though there is some overlap, like for example, you have an interview for a pageant and you're going to need to know what workwear to wear for that interview, kind of. So there was some overlap, but they were also just really different. And, I didn't want people who are interested in seeing clothing or outfits for the workplace, seeing pictures of me and my family, because in our casual clothes, that's not what you're looking for. So for me, when I was thinking about whether to have a separate page or just keep my blog on my personal social media pages, that's what I thought about, and that's why I kept them separate. So they're two almost separate personalities. That's why I have a white collar glam Instagram, and then there's a Cheslie Kryst Instagram. And the positive thing is that I still do sort of cross promote, and that there are a lot of times where I post articles from my blog in my story on my personal Instagram account. So that's good, especially because my Instagram account has a lot larger following than my blog does. So that's the benefit of it. But it is difficult to constantly have to maintain both of them, and it's something that I'm not perfect at right now either. So that's a great question. But you just got to make the decision that makes the most sense for you and for your brand. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. Okay, so Official Primroses, you're on it today, I gotta say. Okay, you said, I've seen a few fashion blogs that link similar products if the exact piece is sold out. It may not be the same, but I think that's helpful when I'm looking for something. Yes, I think that's a great suggestion. I think it's something that I saw like Atlantic Pacific blog do, 9 to 5 Chic, and Memorandum do. They usually link similar items if the original one is sold out, which is great. I end up doing that a good amount on my blog as well. But even those items end up selling out after, if you have like an article that's 3 years old on your website, which the article may still be relevant. It's just that the links are now no good. So that's something that I'm still figuring out. You guys will run into things that you just haven't been able to solve yet when you're doing your blog. But having like a community where we can talk about these things is really, really great. Okay, I think I said that was going to be my last question. Let me make sure there aren't any more good questions on this little question thing. Oh, Tiana asked a question. Hey, girl. Okay, this is going to be my last question, though, because I had to answer this. This is my girl. Okay, so Tiana says, when planning so far ahead, how do you choose what you want to write/post about, considering that trends change? This is an excellent question, girl. Okay, so when I'm planning ahead, I don't plan that far ahead because I think you're right. There are so many like trends that end up changing. When I'm buying clothes, it's hard to get a lot of seasonal items. Like it's hard to find coats that I really, really like when it's like the dead of summer. So I plan like a few months ahead, which helps me so that I don't end up running into like too many problems. Oh, Nia's on here. Hey, girl. Okay, so this I told you guys is like sort of my blog posting schedule. So I've got a bunch of stuff here, but the reason I keep this in Word is because I really, really like to be able to just like select this, cut it, and paste it somewhere else. So I try to create a bank and create a calendar, but I'm also like flexible enough when I'm posting that I know like if I don't want to write about, I don't know, are slingbacks appropriate for work in February because it's still cold outside, I can just move that article down. So it's really, really like two parts. One, having a giant bank of articles and photos. Two, having a calendar where you've sort of selected those articles and photos from your bank and dropped them in your calendar, but really allowing flexibility between the two so that when there is a new trend and you want to take pictures and show that, you can. And you can say, whatever, I had this article planned for this week, but I mean, this article really is more timely. I'm just going to switch this up. And when you have a giant enough bank, there are literally, I have photos, guys, from early 2018 that I haven't used yet that are really just there because if I run out of new photos, I can reach back, grab those, write a new article, and post it. Okay. I hope that answered your question, Tiana. If you have follow-up questions, let me know. We'll do like a FaceTime date or something. Okay, Misha says, I said that was going to be my last question, but Misha says, this is the last question. Are slingbacks appropriate for work? I said, yes, they are. I said there are certain other considerations that you had to think about, but I think they are. And I linked a bunch of slingbacks in those. And I think most of those links are still good because I just posted that last month. So check out my article. Just type into Google, slingbacks appropriate for work, white collar glam if you really want to get to it, and look me up. Okay, Tiana says, okay, yes, was going to ask if you move the posts around within the schedule. Flexibility, thank you. Yeah, I definitely do. Because, like I said, you just never know. And I think what's helped me to keep stuff more relevant is that, like, my issue is that I would create these really long articles, and they would always be, like, so much work and editing and idea creating that went into them. And that's hard to do every single week. Like, hard to make a substantive article like, are slingbacks appropriate for work? What about the double-breasted blazer? Should you try it? 10 items you should never wear to work. It is exhausting to write those articles every week. And so what I did is I created a bunch of like little drop and go, I like to call them, articles that keep my blog more fresh so that I don't have to like think so hard about creating these articles, which is why I have like a look of the week kind of article. So I'm still pushing out photos for people, but I don't have to think so hard about like writing this giant article. I mean, there's just so much work that goes into it. So I've got a look at the week thing. I've got a what I wore section, which shows like outfits that I've actually worn to events and links those so that people can constantly see fresh content. But a ton goes into it. It's a lot. It's crazy. So thank you guys so much for joining. You guys had incredible questions. I hope this was helpful. And if you have more questions, you want us to do another live where we're talking more about blogging, more about social media, or domain names, where to buy, where to get your stuff hosted, whatever, let us know. I mean, because we really want to just make sure that you guys get your questions answered and that we have content that's interesting and helpful to you. So let us know if this was helpful and if you want us to do another one. And make sure to stay grounded and really feed your interests. I think that's one of the cool things about blogging is that even while there's so much going on, a lot of us can't connect physically, we can't be around each other and hang out, you can still write a blog article and post on social media, and it's one of the things that's sort of helped me a lot. So hope you guys liked. I'll see you guys next time, Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Miss USA account. Mwah! See ya!